The last video I showed you how to cut the right sizes for our accordion album. Some call it a concertina album. And this is one of the bases put together. We had 5 pages of 7 by 7.5, and so this is 1, 2, not this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this one extra piece is the 6 1/4 by 7.5. We also, and I'm going to show you how to put this together. We also cut out some chipboard. And what I've done is I've edged the chipboard, and you might, with a light, you might be able to see that I have some black tape around the edges, and it makes it nice and smooth. So I'm going to show you how to edge that with black construction tape. So let me go ahead and show you how to put some things together, and you can get started on yours. So I've run out of 3/8 inch tape, so I am using 1/4 inch tape, and I'm putting it near the first score line. So it's near the first score line. Remember, we had a 3/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. I'm putting it near the 1/2 inch score line. I'm just burnishing it a little to make sure it's on there well. And I get ready to remove the tape, or the tape backing. Get this one out of the way. Now, I've already put together 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to put the 5th one on. So, if you remember correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, I want to put the 5th one on. If you remember correctly, it always goes opposite. So here I have a seam right there, and the next one will be a seam here. So I'm going to put that tape back down a little bit. I am going to remove my tape liner. And take my new piece and put it right up to the score line, making sure my bottom and top are level. I remove my liner, then I fold down on that first score line. Make sure I got it right here. Yep. So I have it top and bottom lined up, and I fold this down, and that attaches it. Okay. Now that is my 5th piece. But I still have this tape here and my separate exact piece, the one that was measured 6 1/4 by 7.5. So now I'm going to put this in the same area. I'll flip it around. I'm going to put it near the first score line, line it up. Remove my outer lining, straighten it out again because it got crooked. It's almost easier sometimes to make it flat on your workspace, so you know, especially when you have all these other pages on there. There we go. So I put it to the score, and then I fold that down on the solid piece. And now I have all the pages together, and in between the pages are these little 1/4 inch marks that we scored the last video, and that will hold the bulk of our albums. Now, after we have these soft pages, we need to do our covers. This is a completed cover with 4 edges covered with construction tape. And this one has 1 piece of construction tape on it. I do the long sides first. Now I'll have this tape available for you at the workshop. And I personally feel it makes 3D items and such very easy to do. So I'm just going to tear it longer than my edge. I'm going to place this on a 1/2 inch mark on my board. So there's a 1/2 inch past it. And I'm just going to line up my tape with that 1/2 inch. Then I'll know that I'll have half on and half off. Now I take, this tape has a 1/2 inch on and a 1/2 inch off, and I take it and I just fold my board over like that. And now I have tape all on that side. I just cut the extra off, just straight. The next one we're going to miter. Okay. Now we're going to do the top and the bottom. This one takes a little bit more care. I'm going to tilt this a little bit and bring this more in front of me. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Now this time I'm doing one of the top. Again, you can line it up on a line so it's easy to know when you have a 1/2 inch on and a 1/2 inch off. But I'm not going to fold it this time right away. I'm going to put it on the 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to angle sort of a miter on that side. And the extra pieces, you can discard them as you go. I usually make a pile of them. All right, so now I have a slanted edge here and a slanted edge there. Now I can fold it over. So I lay it down, fold it over, and this side is now angled, this side is angled. We have these little tails. So I just pull the tail back and trim it off right to the corner. And this one, I pull it back. It doesn't have to be a perfect miter. And I trim it off. Now I have one more edge to cover. Tear a piece or cut a piece, your choice. Tear a piece longer than the board, the mat board. Put it half on, half off. At the angle, at the corners, these little black pieces will get all over, so beware. At the corners, cut it off at an angle. I find that piece a little bit showing more, so I'm going to just lift up a little, gentle, and try to place it more even. It doesn't matter because it'll all be covered with 1/8 of an inch. Then I fold it over. These sides are mitered now, and now I lift up my corner edges and cut them off. I actually like cutting from the corner down. It's easier for me. Fold my corner up and miter it. There. Now I have two covers, and my mat board has a smooth side and a rough side. I put my rough sides together, and this is the cover of my album, and it's just a teeny bit bigger than the pages we've already prepared. Now discard your extra black. You don't want it to get in the way anywhere. And I'm going to show you how to put ribbons on here. Now, you can just, I want my ribbons to be at the bottom of my album. I find my hand or my finger width is just about the right distance. So all I do, measure again, is put a piece of double-sided tape, not all the way to the ends, on for my first piece. Let's score that down a little bit. Now this is the smooth side. Remember, I have my rough sides together. Rough together, smooth out. Remove the cover. I don't think mine's perfectly straight, so I might lay it on the line as I put my ribbon on. That's not bad. So I'm going to take my ribbon. We cut those the other day, 22, 24 inches. You can even make it longer if you want, your choice. I find the center of my ribbon and put a fold. And I want to put that center in the middle of this tape, or about the middle. Okay, I have this one on a line. I went crooked here, so I'm just straightening it out a little. Okay, and then I just burnish it down. Now I'm going to flip the whole album over. And this time, I'm going to take a little piece I think it's, let's see how big it is. It is 2 1/4 wide. And I'm going to take my second ribbon, fold it in half, place it inside my tape, and close those 3 pieces around it. This will make it free moving. If you don't want it free moving, since we're using, you might put a little bit of tape in the middle. If you were doing only one ribbon that has to be flexible for tying bows, you just leave it free flowing. But for this one on the back, I'm going to just put a little tape there to hold my ribbon in place. Now I fold over one side because I scored these in 2 places. I forgot to say that. And then I remove my tape cover and fold it down. Now this is going to line up with my front ribbon. So I guess I didn't quite do it in the middle. There we go. So on one side of this, I'm going to put tape. You could also use glue, but I think ribbon and glue don't necessarily mix well. Once they're wet, they're wet. Okay. So I take that off. And I want it the same height. This isn't perfectly flat. I want the same height as my ribbons in front. Because what we're going to do when this album is completed is we're going to tie here and tie here with the width of the book in between. Now because it's not really strong here, we're going to be covering this with designer paper. I'm just going to take a little bit of my construction tape and hold that ribbon in place while I'm working so it won't pull out. We now have our pages and our covers, and the ribbon goes on the outside of the book. And now I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so on the back here, actually, I think it would be better here. Let me check how big it is. Yeah, I think it might be better. Let's put the tape on here. So I'm going to move this away for a minute. On both end pieces, I'm going to make first of all, a box of my double-sided tape. Not going over any of the score lines, but fairly close. Now this does not have a hinge, it's just a flat cover. So there's not a lot of weight bearing on this cover. So you do not have to put a lot of extra adhesive or use 2 types of adhesive. Okay, so I have a box around and a couple in the middle. Then I'm going to go to the back page, or the back cover rather. Do the same thing, making it flat because it's easier to work with. And you can use almost any size you want of this. My favorite size is 3/8 of an inch because it fits in my 1/2 inch score lines really well, but I ran out. So 1/4 will work. You might just have to put a little bit of extra tape sometimes. Now you can use other kind of tape too. You don't have to use double-sided. I find the double-sided holds well, and it gives you some time to maneuver things. If you really have to maneuver carefully, then I would actually add liquid glue also. Okay. Now, you want this to open like a book. 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, back. So when you put this on, this is my cover. I want this, remember the ribbons on the outside, to go on top of this. So how I'm going to do it is I'm actually going to lay it here. This is my inside cover. I'm going to remove my tape. When you're watching these videos, feel free to go to the top screen in settings and make it go faster so you can whip through my explanation, because if you know what you're doing, sometimes it just helps to see someone doing it, and I'm not saying a lot of information, so feel free to just speed it up. Okay. Sometimes getting this off is my hardest job. Now remember, there's that 1/4 inch that's folded on each page, and we don't want to take that into the cover at all. So see, I have a 1/4 inch here, but I want the cover centered on this. So I'm going to do it gentle at first. And just trying to center it on here. So one is 7.5 and one is 7 1/4. The pages are 7 1/4. So I'm going to make a 1/4 inch on the top and the bottom. Just straighten that out. And burnish it a little. Now the second part is a little easier because this one, still we want the ribbon on the outside, will just line up with that one. There we go. So I'm going to remove my covers of my adhesive. Maybe. I think what I do sometimes I dig too deep and then I tear off the tape with it. And there's one cure for that, and that's good burnishing. The other thing I wanted to tell you, I know sometimes when I make score lines, I go through the paper, and I've actually found that the Cricut in a paper trimmer, a Cricut stylus for scoring, works really well with a paper trimmer for making my lines. And I don't tear the paper with it. Just an idea if you have a Cricut stylus hanging around. Now, if you've watched other videos I've made about mini books, almost always for the covers, I would be using two types of adhesive. But the concertina, or what is it called? Accordion album does not have a lot of pressure. Okay, so I'm going to smooth on the outside. I'm just going to lay this down carefully, trying to center it. I think I have it. I'll look at it and make sure. Nope, the bottom's, see how it's crooked here? Maybe I should have done it backwards. Let's do it backwards. That's why I didn't press it until we're done. So I'm going to open this up more. I think I'll just line up the side. So different when you're doing it on. Okay, I want a 1/4 inch on each side, and each top and bottom rather, and a little less on the edges. There we go. Let's see if that lines up well. Ooh la la. So after we decorate this album, you can see why you might even want bigger ribbons, because the more you put in these, the more the ribbons have to expand. So this will be our concertina album, and these little folds will be filled out as we put our decorations in and our photos in. Now there's one other way, let's see, one other thing I wanted to show you. Let me grab it, it's here somewhere. The other day I cut out an album and I started doing it, but I didn't attach the covers. So another way of doing this, let's move this aside. This is my front cover. I decorated my cover before I put it together. And let's see, I have a back here somewhere too. Back might be hiding. Oh, here it is. No? Back might be in the other room. So I'll just show you that this is another way you can do this. You can have your book already decorated before you put your covers on. And making sure you have everything in the right direction, very important. You can have this ready to go over the ribbons. And what I did was I took one piece of construction tape before I put my adhesive on, and I put it where the ribbon's going to go. That'll help when you're tying it, that nothing will tear. It'll keep that nice and firm there. So I guess this isn't much different because I haven't even attached this yet. So I can take it off the same way I did the last one. And again, this is one nice reason for using double-sided tape. So take off your tape covers. Now remember, all we're making at the class is the black base. You may decorate it with your designer paper of any choice. And I found this winter paper in my retired stash. I have a couple of things I want to just remove here so I don't lose them. Okay, this is the bottom of the book. This is the front of the book. And I want this on here. I think it's easier to go this way. So I'm going to open my front page, put it a 1/4 inch at the top, 1/4 inch at the bottom. It's hard to see because the paper background is black and the cover is black. try to get it straight. I'm pushing down. Okay, I'm not going to show you this whole album yet, but I'm just showing you how you can decorate the cover, and you can do it ahead of time. You also can do it after. That one's not even started yet. So I'm removing the covers of my adhesive. So when I decorate the next book, I'll be decorating this book. I will show you the finished product, but it will be different than decorating it before the cover's on. You just got to make sure you're going in the right direction all the time. Now for this one, it should just be 1/8 of an inch all around, because this is 7.5 by 8. This is 7 3/4. It's not 7.5. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to look on my notes. Sorry. It's 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that's pretty easy to attach. So I don't have the bottom of the book here. It's probably out where I was working. But the bottom would be put on the same exact way. I have the adhesive already there. My page is decorated, not completely. It's going to have a pocket, but I can add the back of it right there. Now, the other thing to consider while you're making these books is, what are you going to do? Remember I told you there's a depth of the book. I made these pockets out of all the scraps that we had when we cut our A4 or our 8.5 by 11 paper. And what I've done is I took one of these scraps. Let's see if it's the right side. Yes. I took one of these scraps and I scored them 3 times. A half, a half, a half, a half, a half, a half. And on the bottom, I scored it once. I don't know if you can see this. So I'll fold it for you so you can see. 1 score, 2 scores, 3 scores. Same on the other side. 1 score, 2 scores, 3 scores. And along the bottom, I scored a 1/2 inch along the bottom too. Now, I've already cut one side to show you what I'm going to do. We're going to be attaching pages, or not pages, pockets to some of the pages. And that's one way of using up your paper. But I took a pair of scissors and I cut off on the bottom score line to the final score line and angled it. So this is what I did. I went through all 3 1/2 inches. 1, 2, 3. That would be the end of that. But I angled this one. Okay. And now, back to our tape. Oh, that's too skinny. Let me get... My tape is hiding here. Here it is. I've got things flying all over the place here. Okay. I put tape on the outside, right by the score line. Now, since this is skinny, I want it right by the score line so it'll be adhered well. Whoop. You can add more, or you can use liquid adhesive too, your choice. And I also put one down at the bottom. Now, because I'm using skinny and I want this pocket to be very secure, because I have a 1/4 inch leeway, so I might be putting a lot of photos or memorabilia in these pockets. So I want to make sure it adheres well. So I'm just adding a little bit of score tape that's 1/8 of an inch thick so that I don't have to use liquid glue. Okay. Now, one one more thing to do. Is on this top, on this top part here, I'm just cutting it at an angle. That way this won't, this one's already cut at an angle. That way this won't show. And so these are going to be folded like so. And then that will make a little pocket that will fit a lot on your page. I think I had one here. Here's one. Remember there's one bigger piece. This is how I made it. So I decorated it. I used a picture of my life card and a scrap of paper, and I decorated it. And this is all ready to go inside of one of the pockets. This is another one. This is the same exact size. This is another one that goes here. This one's going to be going here. So you can make pockets out of your scraps. You can even make sideways pockets by just doing a single layer. And this way, this one will fit things sideways like this once it's attached. But I'll show you more about decorating in the last video. But that gives you an idea of what you can do with your scrap papers. You can decorate them, and then that will hold whatever you want in your book. Now remember, the book is two-sided. So when you flip it over, it opens another book. And so as you decorate it, you can use anything in your scraps. I found these really pretty gold tones, and I thought that went well with it. So I'm going to be gluing those down. And remember that these pages are 6 inches, so you can put 4x6 pictures here also. Or you can add, I'm going to be adding some, what is it called, acrylic for page holders. So if you have, like, one of these pages has stars, I'll be adding this star to it. But I'm not really there yet to tell you everything I'm doing, so I'll show you that next video. Meanwhile, let's go back to how we decorate, just for a hint before the next video. So in the first book, the first video, I showed you some paper I had on hand, which I absolutely love. It's called P.S. I Love You. And I also found that I had the 8-inch pad, and I had background papers. So remember, you need 4 or 5 pages of 12 by 12 to decorate an album. So I went through my stash. Oh, also this beautiful paper comes with gorgeous stickers too, and they're quite small in size, so I thought it fit well with the dimensions of my book. So I flipped through the paper and I picked out my favorite colors, but I also liked the dimensions of the smaller ones. So I took an 8x8 paper and I cut it apart. This is the one that has a lot of words on it, and I thought these were just a great size to decorate my book with. So I have some of those cut up. Then I found, I also had die cuts. And so some of these are really small, so you have to be careful. But these could easily be beautiful tucks in the album, or extra decorations. I'm not sure how I'm going to use it yet. I'll play with it. But they have more cutouts, so they show the background paper right through the cutouts. So this book will be a little fancier than the one that you've seen me doing so far. But the main thing I wanted to tell you is no matter what paper or cutouts you decide to use, that your papers to cover your pages need to be 6 inches wide by 7¼ long, and that will perfectly cover a page. The only ones that it will not cover are your covers. The covers are a little wider. I'm going to untie this. So you want to plan your covers carefully. I'm going to use this for my cover and this for my back cover. And this will have a lot of dimension added to it. But this was larger than the pages. But all the pages are 6¼ So we want 1/8 of an inch to show, so I made these 1/2 of a 12-inch page. If you're using 8-inch paper, this is 8-inch paper, I cut off 6 inches from the 8 inches, and then I just kept the strips to use on other things. So I chose the patterns and the stripes and such from the smaller paper, and the bigger ones I use were mostly from the background. So that's going to give me a lot to play with. So I did use more than 4 pages because an 8x8 will only make 1 page, but you still have the scraps to decorate with. Let's see, I think this would be the example. So when you take the 6 inches off, you still have 2 inches left, and you can use this for a pocket or something else. So as you plan your paper, it does not have to have paper totally covering it. It can have just a little bit, and because if you're going to use the black paper for a photo mat, you can decide what you're going to put in your book, and it can be anything from your stash. But the other thing I noticed is, I didn't cut that straight, did I? This also has, on the back of big papers, the background papers, it has solids, a green, a gold, an ivory, and a black. And those can be great for accents too. So next time I will show you a completed book. In fact, it'll probably be the first video you see, so you know what we're going to be making when we get together in January. So have fun planning what you'll be making and looking through your stash to see what's best for you. God bless. Have a great holiday.